Welcome to the At the Coalface podcast with your host, Jason Greenwood. This podcast is all about what it's really like in the trenches of digital and e-commerce. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. It is my pleasure to have Danil Saliukov, who's the CEO and co-founder of Insense Pro. Welcome, Danil, to the podcast.
Thanks so much, Jason, for inviting me.
Oh, look, it's an interesting thing how I actually found out about you guys. I'd never used your platform or deployed your platform or worked with your platform before, but I think the way I originally found out about your platform was a Business Insider article where you guys had got a recent funding round and that they were waxing lyrical about your platform. And so I looked you up on LinkedIn. I reached out to you for a conversation. You said yes, and here we are.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Business Insider, for that. They also reach out to us and say, hey, guys, we want to write down about not like just round announcement, but actually to attach your investor deck and also explain to the audience how you actually raised the round. So yeah, we closed this round in March, and thanks so much to Business Insider for connecting people.
Look, it's an awesome thing, isn't it? We're all international, and I'm originally from the States. I've been based in New Zealand for over 25 years. You mentioned you're originally from Russia. You've been based in the United States for a while now. You're based in New York. You've got a tech sales. You've got a very mixed background in terms of skills and experience. And now you're in the tech space, building technology for e-commerce, building technology for creators. You've been running Insense for over 6 years now, and obviously getting some serious traction now and getting funded and working with over 35,000 creators and influencers. It's a wild world we live in, isn't it?
It is. And I think these days it's so simple to build global companies than never been before. As you mentioned, like you're living in New Zealand, I'm living in the US, I'm living in New York like for 6 years. And we also have a global team. So we're remote first. We have over 50 people across 13 countries who are building the experience with the Insense and providing the best and creator content ever possible. So it is, wow, I would say, like how it's easy to build international teams, international products.
It's an exciting time to be alive, and it's an exciting time to be involved in digital and e-commerce. Obviously, all of us working in the industry got a shot in the arm during COVID, where pretty much everyone was locked inside. Everybody was shopping online like crazy. A lot of people who weren't able to work during COVID, they were building up side hustles. They were building up content. They were becoming creators, and they were all of a sudden found themselves in a position where, okay, cool, maybe I've got a bit of traction in my social media, but how can I monetize this? How can I work with brands? And your platform is really designed to make that super simple and seamless. We have featured a few other creator type platforms or influencer marketing platforms on the podcast before, but yours is a little bit different in that yours facilitates the actual content creation process, not just facilitating a marketplace between creators and brands, but actually facilitating the content creation itself. So maybe share with us a little bit of the differences, a bit of the unique elements that make Insense so special, and why investors wanted to get involved with the platform.
Yeah, great question. I'll tell you a story of how we came up with an idea to create Insense. Actually, it was my brother, co-founder of Insense. So he ran his e-commerce agency and he did exit a couple of times with his e-commerce brands. And back in the days, like 7-8 years ago, he realized that the content that people would like to follow and make some actions and convert into customers is the one that should be created by people. And back in the days, he started working with micro influencers, with photographers, videographers, to really understand like how to present your product in more authentic way. So the content was like always in the center of everything. And 5 years ago, what we created, people were saying it's influencer marketing, though it wasn't ever for us like just influencer marketing in a way that influencer must post something. No, for us, like the content could be just like one of the part of the deal. And the key reason why brands are looking to work with creators. And we observed like how this situation evolved in many ways over the times. Again, 5 years ago, content wasn't like the key. It's more about either this influencer will post something and then it's going to be driving like some organic traffic to your website. Right now, we've been observed that many brands, they would like to work with the creators for just content, and they less care about how many followers do you have. They more care about either this content is going to be like performing well in paid and helping you to gain this story, and then also either this content is going to be helping to describe your story of your brand or like your products. So that's things we've been observing like for over the past 6 years. And you observed, so COVID, when the COVID happened, we thought, oh my gosh, what's going to be, right? Like we with the world, like we all thought about that. But then it turned out to be, for us, it's actually blessing in a way. And the reason is simple. First of all, as I mentioned, we are a remote first team. So for us to adjust to the new reality, it took, what is it, like a week, a couple of weeks. But then you also mentioned that many creators, they finally realized that they are able to quit their full-time job and actually become full-time creators and just create the content and get paid for what they love to do, try products, and then doing like some testimonials or unboxing. And that's why it's fascinating, because it motivates our team a lot, because creators, they love creating the content, they love the stories. If they don't like, they could be honest with you. They will say, okay, it didn't work out for me. I'm not saying you have bad products, but it's I won't create the content. And that's puts like the way how people would like to consume content these days, like just to be authentic.
I think authenticity becomes such an important, it's important not only between the creator and the brand, but obviously the creator and their audience. And so most creators, unless they're out there purely to monetize their audience, usually they're actually quite protective of their audience. And even micro influencers, or especially micro influencers, because they have such a close connection with their audience. If you've only got 10,000 followers on something like Instagram versus you're not Kim Kardashian, then oftentimes you've got a much tighter bond with your audience than those creators that do have millions of followers, where it's impossible to know even a small percentage of your audience, or to develop that more one-on-one relationship with even more than a handful of your audience. And so I guess the way that your platform to me stands out as a little bit different than some of the other creator platforms out there, than some of the other influencer marketing platforms out there, is it really sprang out of this idea of brand collaboration, of UGC, so user generated content. So really about this concept of, hey, I need to, as a creator, I want to have natural brand affinity with the products that I represent. And I want to recommend these products because they're products that I enjoy, that I love, that I would use anyway, regardless of whether I was being paid to use them or not. And as a result of that, my content that I create on behalf of the brand is going to be much more authentic. It's going to be much more genuine, because we now have this opportunity to connect with more brands than ever before. We can actually try out the products. We can actually decide whether we like them. And then at that point, that's when we agree. After we agree that we actually genuinely like the product, then at that point, we have the opportunity to engage with these brands and say, okay, here's a platform that can connect us together, that can manage the entire collaborative process from initial brief and concept and iteration of the concept with the creator, all the way through to production, and all the way through to amplification. Even if you wanted to attach paid ad spend against that content, amplify it further, your platform really helps to manage that end-to-end process.
And I would add here, so as you mentioned before, so there are some players in the space. They are definitely provide the opportunity for influencers to monetize their audience. But at the same time, like imagine you're a micro influencer and you have 10,000 followers on Instagram. And then not because of your content, even though, but you're receiving like a few likes on your post. Doesn't mean that your content is bad. No, it's not. But because of the algorithms that are constantly changing and so on, we found that some of the creators out there, they might have a super niche audience, but they awesome in what they creating as the content, because they were like late for the game. So there are some early adopters who joined like Instagram or TikTok just recently, and they were able to gain like some following because of they just been early. So that's why we found that so many people out there they are great in creating the content and they want to do not monetize their audience because sometimes brands are disappointed with the organic traffic, but they would like to do like these gigs. And also there is a great opportunity called influencer whitelisting or branded content ads on Facebook or Instagram or Spark ads on TikTok, where you're able to run the ads with influencer content and influencer handle. So that creates the dynamics where you have a feeling that it is still coming from the person, from a creator, but at the same time with all capabilities of media buying machine of either Meta or TikTok, where you're able to target your audience. You're able to convert these audiences with the landing page or shopping tags. So that's what we found actually works like the best, the content and the creator identity.
Now let's talk about that. Let's unpick that little piece a little bit more. So is this a relatively new function? Because I'm not a digital marketer. I don't spend my days living in Facebook Ads Manager or TikTok Ad Manager. Is this a relatively recent piece of functionality that these platforms have added so that you can be whitelisted effectively to be able to run ads against a creator's content so long as it effectively relates to you as the brand, and where the effectively the creator allows that piece of content to be whitelisted for you to repurpose and reuse across the ad network, as if it's almost like a, as you say, like it's an organic piece of content from the creator, but you're putting paid ad spend and you're putting all of your targeting, etc., behind it as the brand, and you're actually paying for the distribution of that content. Is that a relatively new piece of functionality that Meta and TikTok have come up with as a way for brands and creators to work more seamlessly together in a more natural, organic way?
Yeah, it's a fairly new, but yes and no, in a way that there were some functionalities back in the days, like in 2018 on Facebook, where you're able to do brand collab with influencer and then just to add like some ad dollars behind of this post and then promote that. But it wasn't that popular. And I think what boosted the entire this space, it's TikTok. So TikTok is a creator first platform. So all content that you see there, it's created by creators, right? All just like other people, but like creator is like definitely in the center of everything. And then they launched these Spark ads where you're able to whitelist the creators and running the ads. That makes Meta to think about, okay, if it performs like that great on TikTok and we also focus on creators, what we will do with that? So shall we add this functionality on our platform? And they did. So that's why the way how these platforms are evolving these days is definitely towards creator content, the way how mobile first creatives, where you see that it's a video, it's a vertical, it should be a short form. So that's why, yeah, it's a fairly new in a way of become a major way how to gain results from the both ad platforms.
Makes sense. And so your platform really allows or aids and controls and manages, and really how you guys pitch your service is the fact that all the way from brief to amplification, internal to the platform, you help creators and brands manage the entire process, all the way from generating the brief, maybe even putting some base creative in there, putting some brand materials, brand collateral into the briefing form. A brand will fill out the form, and then all of a sudden from there, effectively your AI, or at least your machine learning algorithm, takes over. It can then, at that point, once you've provided a detailed brief, it will then make recommendation of the best creators on your platform that would suit that type of brief. And then from there, the brand can either work with your recommendations or search. You say you've got over 35,000 creators on your platform, registered in your platform already. And then from there, the brand can either work with your recommendations, or they can filter down based on size, niche, location, engagement rate, whatever. They can then select the collaborator they want to work with. They will then collaborate. They reach out via the platform. They pretty much manage all of their communication with the creator directly through your platform. And then they can come back with iterations of specific content, effectively almost like project management, right through your platform. They can receive the content from the creator. They can review that. They can iterate upon it. They can make recommendations. then the creator will effectively finalize that content, get it signed off by the brand. Okay, yep, we're ready to go. Publish that content, and then your platform also connects, as far as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, it actually connects, your platform connects directly to Facebook Ad Manager to help amplify and manage those amplification of that native content as, I guess, promoted ads. Yeah.
Jason, you just delivered the best pitch about Insense. It seems like you have great experience working with our platform, even though you mentioned that you haven't done that yet. So yeah, we like saying that Insense, it's almost like an Upwork or Fiverr, but like a super niche for e-commerce brands from one hand and for micro influencers slash creators from other hand. So you're absolutely right. You're able to find the right creators based on the params such as, I don't know, location, gender, location of the audience, or hair type, like that's things. And then, yeah, you fill out the brief. We're sending this brief to only match the creators. They opt in. You're able to negotiate the price points. There is a double opt-in system where you can name the price, but creators can suggest something, and then you can negotiate within the chat inside of the platform. And then once the job is done, once me as a creator, I receive the product sample, I am able to produce the content. Me as a brand, I can accept these creatives, and then we are providing you with the adding these creator handles directly to Facebook Ads Manager or TikTok Ads Managers, and then you're able to start the amplification. We are a partner of both Meta and TikTok, meaning that we are using their APIs to make this integration smoothly. So for both sides, it's no hassle, like just click like a couple of buttons and then you're connected and the bread collab is done.
And how does the payment actually work? Now, you're not a payments platform, and I know that most creator slash, influencer management platforms, they don't facilitate the payment. They're not a payment gateway. You're not an escrow company or a trust. You don't hold the funds in trust until the creative is published and then disperse the funds. At least most platforms don't do that. And at least as far as I can tell from your website, you also don't do that. So arranging payment for the deliverables, is that negotiated independent of your platform, or do you actually help to manage or provide rails to channel the payment from the brand to the creator?
Actually, we do facilitate the payment from a brand to creators, and the reason is simple, because we are a marketplace. So out there are like a great solutions like where that helps you to scale your influencer program or creator campaigns, though their accent is more about just a purely SaaS business where you're able to outreach many creators based on the params, and then they are not in charge of this transaction. We are different. We are marketplace, meaning that we're taking this money on escrow from a brand, and then you're able to hire creators from your balance. And the reason why we're doing that, because in that case, we can guarantee you that the transaction will be done, and we will put some additional resources from our team just to making sure that the job is done. Or if the job is not done or the deal is not going, then we will make sure that it's going to be like any resolution there. So in that case, influencers or creators won't ghost you, or if they ghosted you, then we are putting them in the outside of our database. So meaning that you will never work with them and other brands will never work with them. So that's why, yeah, we do facilitate the payments from a brand, getting this money on escrow and then releasing these funds to creators when the job is done.
Love this. And that's a major differentiating factor with your platform than a lot of the other creator platforms I've seen out there. And I like that because it almost makes your platform like a digital wallet, right? So I'm basically putting a bunch of funds in there on credit, and you're holding those funds in escrow. And then when you create that connection between a brand and a creator, it also helps to protect the creator to ensure that they're going to get paid as well, because you've got the money up to facilitate the transaction. And when they've fulfilled their part of the deal, delivered the creative, and it's actually been signed off by the brand, it's been approved by the brand, and then effectively once the post has been approved, then hey, you can disperse the funds to the creator. So it protects the creator as well, because especially if you're a small creator and a relatively small creator and you're relatively new to this whole influencer marketing thing. I'm not an influencer, so I haven't ever had to worry about this, but I would imagine if I've got 10 or 20 or 30,000 followers on Instagram and I'm seriously thinking about starting to monetize my audience in some way with something that's relevant to them, I'm guessing it could be pretty daunting for both sides. If you're small, whether you're a small brand or you're a small creator, you don't necessarily know how this works. You don't know how the game is played. You don't know how the negotiations are done. You don't know whether you should take a partial payment up front, and then once you actually post the content, then you get paid the rest. You don't know how deposits or escrow or any of that stuff might work. And so therefore, and you don't know, maybe know even how to take an international payment, right? You don't necessarily know how to do Swift wire transfers or give them your Swift code, or you just don't know any of those things about international transactions, international payments, cross-border payments, multi-currencies, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot involved in payments rails, and there's a lot of complexity involved there. And if you abstract out all of that complexity for both brands and creators, to me, that feels like a massive value add, particularly for the small guys. Big guys, sure, they do this every single day. Maybe they even have an influencer marketing agency that they work with. They have the tools at their disposal. They have the resources. They have the experience. But the smaller end of town, this feels like a massive value add to me.
It is, and for both sides. So we also typically work with e-commerce brands who are typically has like a small team, I don't know, like 40 people, 50 people. But then the question is, do I want to also ask my CPA to pay these bills and negotiate with everyone? Okay, for this person is PayPal, for this person is ACH, for this person is like credit card. It just complicated, and also I need to ask all of these forms of W. So yeah, we are just streamlining this process. But as you mentioned before, one of the key reasons why we also this happen, like the payment facilitation, is the protection of our creators. Because it's a funny thing, like for the market, some of the brands, they're saying like proudly name themselves as a creator marketing tools, though the problem is that they're creating these tools only for one side of the collaborations, which is brands. So creators never heard about these tools. And I'm not saying it's bad or not, but we really care about creators. For us, creators is the same level of the importance as much as brands. So like it's a 50-50. Without creators, we are nothing. We are zero. That's why for us it's clearly and it's super important that they should get paid. Or if anything will happen, they will have some level of support from our team. So that's why, yeah, absolutely, that was one of the key reasons.
And I'm guessing that then leads into how you guys make your money. I'm guessing that you are your SaaS platform. And so for you guys, you effectively are, because you're a marketplace and you're a tech mediated marketplace, then you effectively get to clip the ticket in a transactional way on all the deals that go through your platform. And because you're also a digital wallet, I see the plans are very clearly delineated on your platform. And so you do have that traditional SaaS model, but in addition to the tiers that you have, and I see you've got trial, scale, advanced, try the platform full functionality at the bottom end to see if the platform works for you. And then you've got 400 USD a month. I'm guessing you bill in USD. It looks like you do. Build it $1,200 every 3 months. And then you get 3 advertising brands, unlimited campaigns per month, 30 creators, whitelist license up to 60 days. You've got these tiers here, but over and above this sort of flat fee that you charge, do you clip the ticket on every transaction that goes through the platform, or is it just the subscription model?
We have like both components. It's not like something that you choose, it's for any plans. So you're paying a SaaS subscription because we do provide you with the software like audience data, or marketplace where you're able to find the creators there. So like something that it's above the just transaction. And also we charge a percentage for facilitate this transaction, as we just discussed with you. So there is involved the process where we paying to the Stripe, like just to collect these funds and then to release these funds. So it's not like for free. And also we are charging that for making sure that every transaction will be ended like on our platform. So in that case, sometimes there are some disputes where our support team is jumping in and then making sure that who's the right, how we're going to be resolve that, and things like that. So for that, we are taking like a small percentage on every deal.
Yeah, I see that there now. The last component there is the marketplace fee of 12%. So that's effectively the transactional fee, right? 12% transaction fee on every transaction that flows through the platform. Now, as far as I can tell, this is really targeted in terms of, I guess, the quote unquote SaaS functionality. That's really targeted at the brand. So it's free for the creators. So that's how you attract creators to the platform, is by making it free for the supply side of the platform. And it's the demand side of the platform. So it's the brands themselves that would pay the SaaS fee to be able to access the creators on your platform.
Absolutely. Right now, it's like completely free for our creators. And that was like one of the reasons also, just to making sure that we support them as much as we can. And as I mentioned before, these 12% includes also the fees that we're paying to Stripe. So it's not like something that we are getting the money like to our pocket. No, it's actually something that we are making sure that we can be transferring this money from your pocket to the creators' pockets.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, Stripe is awesome, and it allows you to do multi-currency transactions and cross-border transactions, etc. But there's a cost associated with that. And Stripe is not cheap, and especially if they're clipping the ticket, as in Stripe, they're clipping the ticket when the money goes into escrow. They're clipping the ticket when the money goes out of escrow, and then there obviously are FX fees involved, and you may have held that money for a certain period of time. So there's certain currency hedging built into your transaction fees. You have to build it in so that there's certain FX hedging, because a full end-to-end transaction might take a month, for example. So there's certain fees that you have to absorb as part of your escrow service that obviously somebody has to pay for at the end of the day so that you can be sustainable.
We love Stripe. I think it's one of the best payment service provider solutions out there. But as you mentioned, they are not cheap. And I think what they're charging it's also fair, because they mention like everything, and they're helping us a lot just to making sure that we are able to work cross-border as well. Though the majority of our customers, they're based in the US and they also operate in the US. Still, we have a big chunk of our customers who are based in Australia, but they operate and selling their goods across the US or Canada or the UK. So that's why there is some level of FX rate involved 100%.
Yeah, and now as per the typical SaaS model, you also offer an annual savings on your plans. If you pay annually, then you save 25%, which is actually in the SaaS world, it's pretty hefty annual savings. Is 25%. Oftentimes you maybe see 5, 10, 15%, but 25%, a quarter off by engaging with you on an annual basis. That feels like a pretty good discount, considering the fact that someone can sign up for an initial single month. They can trial out the platform, $450 for that initial month, see if the platform actually works for them, see if it actually brings them value. And then from there, if it does, then they can save 25% by engaging with you annually.
Yeah, what I can say, we do appreciate long-term relations, because if you would like to build a content machine to work with the creators and getting like a lot of UGC, then we're here. We're ready to support you with the even 25% down.
And how does obviously, I'm guessing that something like 90% of the brands that you work with are e-commerce brands. They sell online. They want to work with creators. They want to push traffic effectively, transactions through to their website to complete a transaction. But how much, at least anecdotally, how much of your platform is evolving to work with, say, for example, consultants or B2B brands, or, how, like in my business as a consultancy, I'm focusing very heavily on B2B brands, because I think that because B2B, particularly on e-commerce for B2B, it's been so slow to come to the e-commerce party from B2B transactional perspective that I believe over the next 5 to 10 years, B2B e-commerce growth is going to far outstrip B2C or D2C e-commerce growth. And so I'd love to know what percentage, or if it's becoming more common for B2B brands to work with creators on your platform to push out, whether it be services or products, or just to get exposure to who they are and what they do. Is that becoming a more common thing instead of just the pure D2C e-commerce brands that, would traditionally work with influencers, skincare, fashion, those typical products, those typical brands that are easy for influencers to push, particularly beautiful people, the beautiful people of the world, because most influencers, let's face it, are the beautiful people of the world. It's easy for them to work with fashion brands, etc. But how common is it for B2B brands to work with influencers now versus traditional B2C or D2C?
Yeah, to be honest, I would say I don't know. And the reason why, because we are really focusing on B2C these days, because for these brands, you don't need to explain. We know like how it's going to be working. So that's why like our clear focus is e-commerce, and the second category is mobile apps. So these two verticals, 100% we're able to deliver like great content to them, and just to making sure that will be comfortable from what I observed, and like also based on our experience, because we also working with the influencers, but like from the influencers of e-commerce world, so purely as a B2B. So we do work a lot right now, and moreover, there are a few ways how to partner up with them. It's not only sponsored podcasts or just a blog post or a shout out like on social media. There is a new way how to work with the opinion leader in the space that I found like, wow, just this summer when I spoke with one of them. So basically what they do, they are invited to the all major industry events in e-commerce, like there are a few, where people will be there because of your name. So your opinion leader, so I'm ready to follow you. And what they do, they offering you an opportunity to speak about your product during this e-commerce, but they're not going to be selling that. It's not going to be like something that they're going to be advertised. It's more about how it's more about talking about the topics and then trying to integrate your product inside of these topics. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. You can work with influencers in B2B space in this niche and in a great way where you're not like selling this product like some opinion leader is selling your product, but actually not selling, but like just talking about some problems in the market and then showcasing your product as the example how you can resolve that. And I was just like, okay, it's something.
Okay, so that makes sense. So almost like having a fireside chat with an
Right.
influencer. So this is
Uh-huh.
much more of a conversational type of content as opposed to the creator simply pushing out a piece of sponsored content. We're now talking about an engagement where, say, for example, I was to work with your platform and I was to engage with a creator, and then we were to do let's say a podcast episode together, and I was to have an agreement that you would come on a 15-minute podcast with me. We would record the podcast together. We would then distribute it. We would then amplify it, and we would push this out maybe as reel, or we would push this out across multiple platforms. We would chop this up. We would push it out as a full podcast, but we'd also chop it up and we would distribute it. We'd distribute clips of the video. We would distribute clips of the audio across multiple platforms. So is this the type of engagement that you're talking about, where we're talking about it feels much more like organic conversational type of content as opposed to just pure push content?
It could be like just like organic conversational like during the event, and then you can definitely repurpose this content in paid media or just organic like from your brand, from the for instance Insense account, or you can ask like this influencer to post some the cut of that. So yeah, it could be like either way, but the key one is definitely where this person is doing like this fire chat with you or like without you and showcasing your product in a way how to resolve this problem. So that's the key.
Wow, feels very natural in how this is evolving as an industry, where you had maybe if you were, I don't know, maybe if you were at a hot rod show, you might hire promo girls, so to speak, to stand next to your cars or something like that. And so there was a whole industry, cottage industry, that sprung up around the whole promo girl model. But it sounds like this is evolving into the influencer marketing space. So you can work with an influencer to turn up either at a physical event or a virtual event. You can have a conversation with them. You now fall under their umbrella brand, their personal brand, their creator brand. And then you are able to distribute this very organic, it is organic content because you've created it in an organic environment. And then you're able to distribute it via them as well as via paid channels in a very organic feeling way, even if it's paid distribution.
Yeah, so that's how the entire industry evolves right now. And we also like exploring how does it work working with their creators and influencers in a B2B space. Yeah, that was one of the things that we found out, okay, we never thought about that, because it's not just a typical where pay per post kind of collaboration. It's more about co-creating the content together, which is like way different thing like when it was like just 5 years ago.
Such a different content model than the traditional influencer marketing model, where you have somebody pushing out a reel or pushing out a story, an ephemeral story that disappears. Now, how do you guys aid in price discovery? Meaning, again, going back to the small creator, the small brand concept, they might not have any idea based on the number of followers or based on the reach of a post or based on the engagement with a post. They might not have an idea about how they should, as the creator, they might have any idea how they should fairly price their content, or even what model they should use to price their content, or if they want to move to a pay for performance model. For example, some creators are moving to a pay for performance model where they say, okay, you pay me a small fee up front based on the engagement that a post gets. You're going to pay me X number of dollars within the first 30, 60, 90 days. But there's multiple engagement models now out there in the marketplace. But a lot of these brands and the creators themselves have no idea how to price these engagements. Do you facilitate or help pricing these engagements based on of a standardized model across that you're seeing across your platform?
Yeah, great question. I think this bottleneck right now is one of the major one. Creators have no idea how to price for their work, especially if they are not experienced yet. And the same way, some of the brands who have some lack experience working with the creators. And also, if you work with the creators in terms of the influencer activations, so in that case, it might be various, depends on the platform. So for Instagram, followers are still the thing. For TikTok, it doesn't matter. It's more about like your reach. So it's really different. So with us, yes, we do help our brands and creators with the price guidelines. We have, okay, if you want to receive one video TikTok, just UGC, so here's your price. If you want to receive Instagram, one video, a couple of static images, and influencer whitelisting, there is a price, right? So we do help them, and what we found that it's definitely the area of improving for the entire industry, because it's easily to get spoiled with the bigger money from the bigger brand. So you can work with many e-commerce brands, but then you can get spoiled with the money from the one of the biggest brands out there, like some enterprise, who will just like not throwing the money, but like for them it's a normal. So to pay $10,000 per engagement, and you somehow like spoiling that. And the reason why, because okay, for bigger brands they can pay 10,000 per engagement. For the smaller ones, it just doesn't make sense. So that's why like pricing is one of the biggest issues right now, 100%. And we're trying to help that and automate the pricing guidelines for both sides, just to making sure that they are not out of the reality when they are asking for some collabs and they're ready to pay only $50. Like $50, sometimes it's just not enough for the job that people are actually crazing, like for 3 hours, like 3 hours, $50. I'm not sure. So yeah.
And I'm guessing that your platform also helps in this regard, as some other creative platforms do, in that because you are soliciting proposals from multiple creators at the same time before you actually select one, then you can compare on as much of an apples to apples basis as possible. If you put out your proposal request to 50 creators, and all of them fall within 5% of each other, and then you have one creator that's 10 times as expensive, then you know that this person is an outlier, and maybe they're worth the money, maybe they're not. But I guess it helps to have a little bit more transparent price discovery, because you're negotiating effectively with a large amount of creators all at the same time by putting out your brief to multiple creators. Would that be an accurate assumption?
Yes, right now you can see all of the opt-ins for your campaign, and then basically seeing that, okay, this creator is charging like twice more for the same job, and I don't see like big difference between them. That works like in one side. It doesn't work from the other side. Like creators currently, they don't have any visibility of what they're opting in terms of the like other compares. I'll put like that. So we the creators. So that's like the part that actually is missing right now on our platform, and we would like to definitely help here, not only for brands but also for creators, just to name the price like in a more accurate way. So we don't work is showing the best price that you should be able to opt in. With us, it's more about per use cases, as I mentioned before, like for instance, TikTok, one video, UGC, done. no posting, nothing like that. So here's the price points. But down the road, we would like to help like both sides to opt in with something like more fair pricing, and both sides would agree with that. So because in the end of the day, can you negotiate with every creators? Yes, you can. Do we want you to do that every time? No, we don't. Because in the end of the day, we would like to help you to save some time on something that you want to achieve, a part of the just chatting with the creators.
Yeah, and look, I think you can introduce, so that's such a great point. So basically, your price discovery mechanism at the moment is heavily skewed towards the brands that are creating the brief. And so therefore, in some senses, you could almost consider this being a little bit unfairly, the deck is almost a little bit unfairly stacked on behalf of the brand. Whereas if as a creator, I knew that the average pitch price that has been being pitched to this brand for this project is X, then I know that maybe if I feel like I'm better than 70% of the creators out there, then maybe I'll attach a slight premium. But it means that as a creator, I can automatically become much more competitive if I knew the range. You don't have to say who the creators are, obviously, so that you have to have some privacy involved in this. But if the creator would know, okay, the responses to this so far have ranged between X dollar and X dollar, then at least at that point, you would give some tools, give some power back to the creators who may not even have any idea how to price themselves accurately. And they may, by definition, be pricing themselves out of the market inadvertently. They don't even intentionally mean to, but because they don't know how to price their work, they might inadvertently under or overprice themselves. If they're underpricing themselves too much, then they're giving away too much for free, so to speak. But if they're overpricing themselves, then they may be missing out on opportunities. So I feel like that two-sided price discovery becomes absolutely critical in not only providing like a general framework and guidelines and saying posts of this type and with creators of your size would generally charge X to X, but I think in the moment for that time in the market and that type of brief, giving that type of price discovery tools and power to the creators feels like a pretty important piece of the puzzle at some point.
100%. And I think it's fair for both sides, just to understand like where I'm at the market right now when I'm at this campaign particularly, and name your price. Because in the end of the day, if you like the brand that you want to work with, you can provide like some discount, but you don't want to provide discount like every single time, right? Maybe you're already like mediocre in terms of the pricing, and then like you're just waiting to be selected. Big thing right now, we have like clear focus on that, and down the road is going to be like automation for both sides, just to making sure that they have fair pricing.
Makes absolute sense. That leads me into my next question, which is just a natural segue. So apart from that sort of two-sided price discovery and making that clearer and more seamless and easy for both sides of the transaction, what other pieces of functionality are important on your roadmap that you say, hey, we do this great today, but we want to improve it, or we don't do this at all today and we want to add this functionality over the next 6, 12, 18 months? What is on your roadmap that you feel is particularly important to help further differentiate your platform from others?
Yeah, we call it as a product vision content to commerce, where we making sure that we're bringing content to e-commerce. And what does it mean? We would like to make the experience for e-commerce brands tailored to their specific industry. One of the biggest part of that would differentiate e-commerce from other industries is that there is a product sample shipment involved. So I need to send something to creators that they able to create the content with. So typically it's not something that I can go to the store and buy. It's something that should be shipped. So for that process, we're already integrating with Shopify, where you're able to connect your Shopify store to your creative brief. And then where you're creating the creative brief and choosing the products that you would like to get content with, then you're able to select from the basically a back office of your Shopify and making sure that you have enough product to the creators, and moreover to create zero value order where it's going to be named in your back office that is going to be like zero cost. And for that, it's going to be just to simplify the process for your CPA and your finance team, and et cetera, et cetera. And also there is a stage where me as a creator, I obtained for the price points, I got hired for this job. And then there's a notification that the product is shipped but I have zero visibility of when it's going to be delivered. And then I need to message a brand and say, okay, it's been 5 days and I haven't got this shampoo or whatever. So when it's going to be delivered? At the same time, like a brand manager have no visibility because some of the colleagues actually send all of these samples to the creators. So for that, we're doing the integration with a company called Shippo, where you're able to add a tracking number and seeing what is the status of delivery for both sides. So in that case, we're just avoiding a lot of back and forth messages between the brands and the creators, and they clearly seeing, okay, here's the status of delivery. I don't need to worry. I'm going to receive that in a couple of days, and then I'm going to be ready to film the content. So that's like what we are building right now, just to making sure that we providing the best experience for both sides, and it's definitely tailored to the e-commerce vertical specific.
Amazing. Yeah, I can totally see the value there, especially if you're auto tagging the order in Shopify with a sample or some kind of tag that is automatically able to be broken out and segmented in analytics so that you can actually break out that as part of your quote unquote advertising costs. I think that's a genius move. So fantastic idea to facilitate that. Now we're coming to the end of our time together, but what I want to do is I want to turn the microphone over to you, and I would like to give you the opportunity to ask me one question, any question you like. I turn the tables on myself as the host, and so I'd love to turn the microphone over to you, Danil Saliukov, CEO, co-founder of Insense. Over to you. It's all yours. Take it away.
I didn't expect that.
I love this element where I get to turn the tables on myself, but I also get to surprise my guests with the opportunity to grill me for a change.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let me just a sec. That's a great move.
And it doesn't even necessarily have to be specifically about your industry. It could be about anything at all. It could be personal. It could be absolutely anything.
Yeah. So I had an interview with the product manager candidate today, and she asked me a great question that I would like to rephrase and send it over to you. What doesn't make a company great, in your opinion?
Wow, that is a fantastic question. That's actually a really tough one. I love that. I love the fact that it's so difficult to answer. What makes a company great? Look, for me personally, and I feel like this is a very subjective thing, but for me personally, I think it has to be great for the employees, for the founders, and for the customers. I know that sounds really trite, but it's so difficult to strike that right balance between being sustainable as a business, doing right by society, doing right by the community, ultimately being sustainable, having enough customers, bringing enough value to the table that is sustainable as a business commercially. But also, I think the thing nowadays that's probably harder than ever before to make a company great is the element of social responsibility. In this age of wokeness, political wokeness, it is so easy for a company that's built up a reputation over 50 years. They've spent billions of dollars building a reputation, and it can be destroyed overnight by one CEO tweet, one wrong tweet that was culturally or socially insensitive, even just for a moment, or even perceived as socially or culturally insensitive. So to me, a brand and a company that can thread that needle and can be culturally and socially relevant without being PC just for the sake of being PC, to me nowadays, that's probably one of the biggest challenges I see in the market, particularly around content creation, and particularly in the industry you work in. Even aligning with the wrong creator can destroy your brand almost overnight. So I think the companies that can not co-opt is probably the wrong word, but can ensure that they're culturally relevant in the moment, but aren't overly PC at the same time. I think those brands are the ones that turn into great companies, because they will have to, by definition, if they want to be long-lasting companies, they will be forced to evolve over time without losing their relevance. And I think, to me, that's probably, particularly nowadays, what makes a great company.
Wow, Jason, thanks so much. And I'm 100% with you on this statement. Like, it's definitely not anymore about just gaining revenue and just to provide some products or services. It's more about how you makes the difference these days and how you ensure that you are relevant to the culture and you're not going against against what is happening right now, like in social media, in politics, or whatever. So just to making sure that you are totally aligned with what on top of the minds of the people.
Awesome. Listen, it has been fantastic speaking with you. If our audience wants to get a hold of you, if they want to chat to you, or they want to find out more about Insense, is it best that they just go to Insense, INSENSE.pro, and find out more directly through your website? Or would you prefer that people reach out directly to you on LinkedIn? Or how's the best way for people to get a hold of you if they want to learn?
You can learn about our company definitely like on our website, insense.pro, or please me on LinkedIn. So Danil Saliukov, DANIL SALIUKOV, or my Twitter, same, Danil Saliukov. So please, I'm trying to bring some value in our content. So something that I've been observed. Yeah, follow me, ask questions, or just DM me if you have anything about UGC, creator marketing, building international teams, whatever like question that you found that I might be helpful for you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It's been awesome speaking with you today. I know you mentioned before we started recording that you don't do a lot of podcasts, you don't do a lot of media appearances, and I really appreciate you saying yes to me. That Insider article really brought to the fore the importance of platforms like yours, especially in the current market, and the need, especially as we look at potentially going into a pretty severe recession, the need for creators to have tooling that allows them to monetize the hard work that they do every single day and be recognized for that work. It really impressed upon me the need to have these tools. And I think we just can't overstate the need to empower creators, because they really are the brands of tomorrow are the creators. That's the reality. They are the brands. And so it's been awesome chatting with you. I've learned an absolute heap. Love to get you back on the podcast sometime soon. So thank you very much for spending time with me today.
Thanks so much, Jason, for inviting me.
Are you a merchant or software vendor that is focused on e-commerce or omnichannel? Then head over to greenwoodconsulting.net to see how we can help you scale your business.